I don't want a dying one in my house because she smells gloomy. I will not allow any more home nursing.
When my mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer, she was driven out of the house. The only ones who were there for her in her last moments were us, her daughters. And when my father was diagnosed with cancer, he pushed his care onto others. Do I really have to silently endure this treatment?
It's about time to teach that fool a lesson.
My name is Bonnie. I'm 21 years old, a junior at a local public university. I have a younger sister, Susan, who is a college student, and we were a family of 4 with our father and mother. It may sound like a typical family, but my sister and I hated our father. He clearly looked down on our mother, a full-time housewife, and disliked spending time or money on family matters. Mother, always busy with what's now called solo parenting, never showed her tiredness to the family, always smiling and cheerful. We sisters loved her dearly and grew up detesting our father, who didn't appreciate her. Then, 2 years ago, when my sister entered college, Mother fell ill and was hospitalized. Our family was called to the hospital to hear the doctor's explanation.
It's cancer. She has about half a year left, I would say. She hasn't been taking regular health checkups, has she? If it had been discovered earlier, there might have been something we could do. Oh, well, my wife always said she was fine and didn't want to go.
Father was all submissive in front of the doctor, but as soon as he left the room, his attitude changed.
Really? If she gets cancer, who's going to take care of the house? You girls, do the housework in her place.
After saying that dismissively, he left the hospital without visiting Mother and went out drinking. What is he talking about? It was Dad who always opposed Mom going for health checkups, saying there's no need since she's always at home and should spend any free time doing housework. My sister muttered this, trembling with anger. Father never visited Mother in the hospital and went out drinking every night, returning home late. What does he even think about family? Mother spent some time at home after being discharged, but her condition wasn't good. My sister and I tried to help with household chores to ease her burden, but she visibly grew weaker. Father seemed to find her presence bothersome, and, far from being worried, complained.
Really, a housewife who doesn't even do housework, just causing more trouble.
Maybe we should start preparing for Mom's home care? When I hesitantly suggested this to Dad, he predictably opposed it.
What's that? A waste of money. Having a dying one at home is depressing. Think about me, coming home tired from work, and then having to take care of her. You girls have it easy as students. Who do you think is paying for your college?
He kept grumbling. I had expected opposition, but not to be spoken to so harshly, and I couldn't help but cry. How can you... Mom's part of the family, right? Are you really going to abandon her just because she's sick and can't do housework anymore? That's just wrong. Hearing this, my sister, who was listening, also started crying, saying, That's too cruel. Poor Mom. Father, apparently annoyed, said,
I'm going out for a drink, but remember, I won't allow home care.
And left. After Dad left, Mother came out from the back room.
I'm sorry for making you feel bad. I'll be fine. I'll go to a palliative care ward with my savings. There's a palliative care center Uncle suggested. It's hard for you and Susan to take care of me while being students. You've had a hard time, thank you.
Seeing my mother say this with a smile, my sister and I started crying again. After that, my sister and I visited our mother in the palliative care ward every day, but during that time, Father never came to visit.
Instead of just taking care of the sick, do your chores properly. Who do you think is allowing you to live and attend college?
He angrily said. Eventually, it was just my sister and I who were there for Mother's final moments. Even after being informed of my mother's passing by the doctor, I was in shock and couldn't grasp the reality until my sister said, "Oh, we have to do the wake and funeral, right?" That snapped me back to reality, and I managed to contact my mother's relatives.
I see. You two, Bonnie and Susan, have had it tough. I'm sorry I couldn't be there for her passing. Leave the rest to me.
Uncle, Mother's brother, was always reliable, and we often depended on him. Thank you, Uncle. We still haven't been able to reach Dad on the phone.
I knew it.
Father had been out drinking and hadn't answered his phone since Mother became critical. He finally arrived at the hospital 8 hours after her death, having been informed by his regular bar. Father, reeking of alcohol, sat down heavily and said,
Finally kicked the bucket, huh? Good riddance to the money-eater.
He laughed heartily, and my sister and I looked on in disbelief. Thanks to Uncle, the wake and funeral went smoothly. Father didn't prepare anything, but at the funeral he suddenly started playing the role of a loving husband.
Thank you all for coming today for my wife. My caregiving hardships are nothing compared to her suffering. Yes, truly. Yes, I visited her every day. I considered home care, but it was her wish to spend her final days in a palliative care ward under professional care. Yes, thank you. I believe she would be happy.
Hearing my father talk like this to the mourners, my sister also lunged at him in anger. Wait, Susan, it's Mom's funeral. Don't cause a scene. It would upset her. You're right, but it's so frustrating. He says such things when Mom died. I'm angry too, and I can't forgive him for saying such things. As we looked down, trying hard to suppress our anger, Uncle, Mother's brother, came over to us.
Bonnie, Susan, I heard everything. I know it's hard, but I understand everything. It's okay. Call me if you need anything.
Uncle, thank you. Uncle's words gave us some comfort, and we were able to focus on bidding farewell to Mother that day. Afterward, my sister and I sorted through Mother's belongings, trying to avoid Father as much as possible. Then, the day after Mother's memorial service, Father brought home a flamboyantly dressed woman in her 30s, obviously from the nightlife industry. Nice to meet you. With a saccharine voice, while Father had his arm around her, he declared, She's my girlfriend. We're going to live together from now on. You girls should get along with her. Wait, what are you talking about? You're bringing another woman home just after Mom passed away? We can't live with her, no way. Who do you think you are? This is my house. If you don't like it, leave. I'll still pay for your tuition, but don't involve yourselves with me anymore. I have my own life to live. Can't stand this anymore. Supporting my crying sister, I went back to our room. Then I took out my smartphone and dialed Uncle's number. What? He's brought in a new woman now? That man is the scum of the earth. Come to my place. You can come right now. Pack up your things and come over. We packed our essentials into a suitcase and jumped into a taxi we ordered on our phone. From the living room, we could hear the high-pitched laughter of Father's girlfriend. You did well to come. It must have been tough. Arriving at Uncle's house and being warmly welcomed, I felt so relieved I almost cried. You must have had a hard time on such a cold day. Would you like some milk tea? You both should commute to college from here. It's not too far from here. Thank you so much. We will help out as much as we can. Life at Uncle's house was peaceful, and my sister and I, busy but often reminiscing about Mother, found ourselves thinking less and less about Father. Then one day I got a call on my phone. Hello, Bonnie. Long time no see. Actually, your father is in the final stages of cirrhosis and needs care. Honestly, it's tough for me alone and I have my own job. He said to ask Bonnie and Susan for help. You're worried about your dad, right? We were told by our father to not involve ourselves with him anymore. I ended the call shortly, but the girlfriend kept calling daily after that. Bonnie, he's angry, saying, have they forgotten the favor of being supported by me? Every day. Unable to bear it, I consulted with Uncle. That fool? He really is beyond redemption. It's about time to tell him the truth. Uncle sighed as he spoke. One Sunday, my sister, Uncle, and I went to my father's house. Welcome back, Bonnie and Susan. You must be worried about your dad after all, your family. You're coming back to this house, right? Thanks in advance for taking care of him.
Of course, it's only natural for children to take care of their sick parents. By the way, I didn't mention it, but I quit my job last month. Can't work with this body, so I can't pay for your college anymore. Quit college and work while taking care of me.
What are you saying? No way, we are not your slaves.
What the hell are you saying? It's only natural for children to take care of their sick parents.
Despite not doing anything for his sick wife, with hands trembling in anger, I replied, "We're cutting ties as family. We'll manage our tuition ourselves. Living here and taking care of you is impossible."
What? Do you think that's allowed?
Yeah, it's thanks to your father that you've been able to live in this house all this time, isn't it? Then Uncle quietly spoke.
The one who isn't allowed here is you. How long do you plan to stay in this house?
It's time to tell the truth. I followed up on what Uncle said.
Huh? What do you mean? This land and house were inherited by the girl's mother from our father, and the ownership was in their mother's name. So, after she died, it became mine. I'm her husband.
Father raised his voice.
That's why you're a fool.
My father's face turned red at my uncle's words. My father had always had a complex about my uncle, who was a shrewd man, so it was even worse.
It's ridiculous to think that a deceased wife's property automatically becomes her husband's.
Uncle spoke dismissively.
My sister had prepared a will and entrusted it to a lawyer. This house is now in Bonnie's name. You two have no right to live here.
Uncle continued sharply.
You always mocked my sister, calling her a money-eating housewife, but did you actually contribute properly to the household expenses? There were times you didn't because you spent it on drinking. How do you think she managed during those times? Well, I thought she was saving and managing because she was at home. You really are a fool. She wouldn't have had enough to manage her savings. She was earning income through investments and managing the household with that income. And you didn't even know, thinking you were the one supporting the household.
So that's the situation, Dad. This house is now mine. I'm currently looking for a buyer through a real estate agent, so can you leave? I tried to keep my emotions out of it as I spoke.
What? I quit my job. I have no income, and now, if I lose the house too...
Father's face, which had been red, now turned pale.
All right, I was wrong. I apologize. Let me live in this house. We can be a family again like before.
Father said this, looking like a completely different person, head hung low. I finally said what I had wanted to say for so long. No, thank you. I have no attachment to this house without Mom. Having someone on the brink of the afterlife in the house makes it so gloomy, right? I'll return those words to you. My sister nodded vigorously beside me. We won't see you again, Dad. Firmly stating that, we left the house filled with memories of our mother. Later on, when my sister and I secretly went to get our belongings during Father's absence, a neighbor lady told us, "That flashy woman who is living here seems to have left, and my husband saw your father at the hospital wearing shabby pajamas and muttering, 'I don't have any money to buy anything at the store. Is your father all right?'" I gave a vague reply to the curious lady and quickly left the scene, but my sister and I later said to each other, "It serves him right. Exactly, karma." That's the punishment for how he treated our kind mother. Uncle was right. We struck at the right time when it would hurt him the most. Really, it was good to follow Uncle's advice. I remember the day we arrived at Uncle's house. We'll help out as much as we can.
You don't need to worry so much. You should know the truth. My sister knew about his mistress and anticipated that if he got the inheritance, he would let his mistress do as she pleased. She intended to divide her assets among you two sisters. She entrusted me with all the legal matters after her death.
Then I learned that the house and land were in my name, and stocks and other assets were inherited by my sister. So that means Dad and that woman have no right to live in that house, right? Let's go take it back right away.
Wait a minute. As you know, I'm a doctor. When I saw him at my sister's funeral, I had a hunch. He doesn't have long left. Maybe when he's in the same situation, he'll understand her feelings.
As Uncle intended, we were able to cause significant damage to our father. But sister, are you really okay with selling the house? It has our memories with Mom, and it's where we grew up. Yes, I was conflicted, but I didn't want to leave the option of home care for Dad, and it's scary that his mistress knows about the house. For me now, home is where I can be with you. While talking, my sister and I entered an apartment building in front of the station. This apartment is owned by Uncle, and he's letting us stay here for free. Uncle owns several apartments in this area. I remember when Uncle suggested that we live in this apartment. We can't trouble you any further, Uncle. We tried to decline his offer, but he insisted.
Let me do at least this much. I can't accept money from you students. My wife and I don't have children, so we think of you as our own. It would make us happy if you rely on us.
Thank you so much. Remembering the hardships we endured because of my father, I felt a surge of emotion.
I really wanted to pay for your tuition too. Are you sure you want to pay for it yourselves?
Yes, after selling the house and stocks Mom left us, we have enough to cover the rest of our tuition. It's really all thanks to Mom. My sister's eyes also welled up with tears. We have to stay positive to reassure my mother in heaven. My sister and I nodded to each other. Entering the apartment, I recalled this conversation with my sister. As we entered, we saw a photo of our mother. Her smile seemed to say, "This was the right choice."